All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Fort Worth Music Academy podcast. I'm your host, Eric Barassa, and I'm so excited to have our guest today. We've got Nikki Belshe, owner of Heart and Harmony Music Therapy, and we are knee-deep in the COVID-19 crisis, so rest assured we are definitely going to talk a little bit about that. But to get us started, Nikki, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and kind of what you guys do?
Sure. So I'm a board certified music therapist. We have a national certification exam that we take. And in Texas, we don't yet have licensure, but there are, I believe, about 8,000 of us in the United States. So we use music as the tool or the medium, whatever terminology you want to use, to achieve other results. So our end goal isn't for somebody to be a wonderful guitar player or a wonderful piano player, but we might use music to help somebody obtain, new speech sounds or to improve their enunciation. We work on the 5 human domain areas. So that's social skills, emotional, cognitive, physical, and communication. Most of the time, music therapists are using these individualized goals to work on non-musical goal areas. My practice in particular, we have 9 board certified music therapists on staff, and we do home health visits. So we actually are going into people's homes, a lot of times people with mental health diagnoses or people with intellectual IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Oh, okay. So there's a term for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
IDD. Yeah. I was trying to remember what the acronym stood for, and my mind is just having a hard time.
Yeah, we've all got COVID-19 mind right now.
We really do. Yeah.
Okay, so do you have like is there a niche that you guys fit into for music therapy? Like, I guess you kind of mentioned it, but is there something specific you guys tend to focus on that other music therapy companies do not?
In the state of Texas, we kind of are one of the few that have a team, because there are some Medicaid waivers that fund music therapy, and so there are a lot of solo music therapists, contract workers. And while we do the same work and fill those same contracts, we try to really focus on community for both our employees and for our clients. So we host a lot of social events when we can. We have concerts. We have parties, and we invite the clients so that they can get to know one another and they can build their own community. So that's been a neat thing to see over the years. But there are music therapists. Yeah, we have a lot of fun. We ended up going that route and focusing on expanding and adding employees because me and my late husband, we were music therapists doing the solo traveling and just feeling really isolated. And we knew that a lot of our colleagues in the area were also isolated. And we were like, how can we solve this problem? And that's when Heart and Harmony decided to hire employees and start an internship and really focus on building community.
Gosh, that's crazy. I can totally relate to that, because just thinking back to when I was a school teacher, it was easy because you could go into the teacher's lounge and vent frustrations or celebrate wins, and usually it was people venting frustrations, but we were able to connect in that way. And then as soon as I became a solo teacher and I was on my own, boy, I have never felt isolation like that. I mean, maybe other than now, but
yeah.
So that's really cool that you've managed to kind of work that out to where now. How do you attract music therapists, independent music therapists, to say like, hey, listen, coming to work with us and being a part of our team, you may prefer this to being an independent therapist? What would be the appeal for them? Other than the isolation, or is that the primary appeal?
That's a big part of it, but also something that is not really discussed when you're going through school as a music therapist, or probably music ed as well. You don't really know that taxes are terrible when you are an independent contractor. So being in that position myself, I really wanted to be an employee of my own company so that I could not pay self-employment taxes. And when we started to look at that and realize that our contracted therapist wanted to be part of a team, we were like, well, you know what? We can fix this. We can provide them with employment, take care of taxes so that they don't have to deal with it in the same way, offer benefits. And then the whole community aspect has been really big. We haven't really had to sell it on people. When we told the contractors that we were switching over to employees, they were very thrilled.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we pretty regularly have new therapists reach out to us wanting to know if we're hiring and if we have a position, which is really flattering. And that lets me know that we're doing a good thing.
Good for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. And how long has your company been in operation?
Oh, well, I was doing contract work starting in 2009. That's the year that I finished my internship, because to be a music therapist, you have to do a 4-year degree, or you can do a master's equivalency, a 6-month internship, which is a full-time 1,200-hour internship, then the board exam. So I finished that in 2009, started doing contract work, and I did it kind of here and there solo until I think 2012 is when we officially named ourselves Heart and Harmony and started our internship program. So yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Well, it really, I think, takes a special person to do something like that and be willing to lead other people, because at least I think it's a lot harder than just kind of doing it on your own. So that's kudos to you with that. And then I wanted to ask you, what has been for you now? Do you do music therapy at all anymore, or are you now in more of the administrative role?
No, I do music therapy. I love it too much to not do it at all.
Yeah. I can relate to that. Like the responsible thing I should do for my business is not teach anymore.
Yep.
But it's like I kind of can't seem to let it go.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, so both of those maternity leave periods that, actually, and I was a contractor for maternity leave, so I'm calling it maternity leave, but it was not a paid maternity leave. But both of those periods where I was not working, I was pretty heartbroken. So that kind of helped me to figure out, becoming a mother, how to cut down my caseload, because I literally had to. It was necessity. But now, rather than having a full caseload of 18 to 20 clients, I only see, I think, 10 client hours a week.
Yeah, that's great. So you get to still do what you love, but it still gives you the time to take care of the other things in the business that need to be taken care of. Yeah, and of course, be a mom. What has been? Can you think of like an example of? I'm sure you've had lots of rewarding experiences, but can you think of one that comes to mind that just makes you think, "Wow, this is really worth it"? And I don't know. Do you have a moment?
I have so many of those, honestly. There is a girl with traumatic brain injury. She's a woman, actually. She's in her 20s now. We have seen her since 2010 or 2011, so quite a while. And when I first started doing music therapy with her, she was a teenager, as a lot of teenagers are, a little guarded and a little closed off. She wasn't one to just offer conversation. I kind of had to pry, but she was really interested in playing guitar, and she knew a couple of chords. Her rhythm was a little bit off. She just was putting it all together and learning. So when I started with her, I took over from another therapist who had moved, and we, in addition to teaching her guitar, we also started playing around a little bit on piano, because she understood a lot about music theory. She was also in choir at her high school. So she was like, oh yeah, I know solfege. Oh yeah, I can sing this. And so over the years, we have written songs together. She will do what we call a lyric analysis, where we'll pull up the words or the lyrics to a song that has some sort of emotional or social concept, and she'll get a highlighter and we'll like go through and talk about it. And I'll say like, oh, well, how does this relate to your life? And she is just a star at it. Her conversation skills have really grown. She's gone off to college and has now begun playing ukulele in addition to piano and guitar. And she can play bar chords. She can do all of these things that when I first started with her, I was not sure, what her skill level would be. Her motor skills had a little bit of trouble like coordinating to get the chords going, but the more that she did it, the more her body entrained to it, and her skills across all of the domains have really grown. And part of that is her maturing, but it's really cool to see how she really connects with the music. So one of her goals is for her to explore her own leisure skills, and so she has a practice log, and that's like part of therapy for her, is to practice and to share her songs with her family members. And oh my goodness, just when I think about her, I think about like, this is what music therapy is. It's seeing a person grow and make progress in all of these areas, and for music to really be the thing that is so motivating to her, and it kind of sets her free.
Wow, that's really cool. I love that.
I have a lot of those stories, honestly. That's just the first one.
Yeah. Well, if there's another one that comes to mind, I'd love to hear another example.
Yeah. So on the other side of like the functioning level, I have a client who he's very, very bright, but he's nonverbal. So a lot of people would assume, oh, he's nonverbal, so he doesn't understand. And it is just such a disservice to him whenever people make that assumption. He communicates through a Dynabox, which is kind of like an iPad. They have a lot of different kinds of devices that function as communication devices that are strictly for him to use to communicate through. So he has a folder on his Dynabox that's a music therapy folder that we've programmed in and put in all of the instruments. And one of his goals, because we are working on non-musical goals, is for him to make choices about what we're going to do in the session. And even though he doesn't verbalize a ton, and when he does, his diagnosis is autism, so he's very echolalic, which means that he repeats a lot. He just loves music so much that he's really quick to be like, I want the kabasa, and then he'll say, I want the kabasa, and then he'll grab the kabasa. So it's really wonderful to see that, he may not be as motivated to say, I want a book, or I want whatever else, some broccoli, but music is so intrinsically motivating that we can do a whole session, 50 minutes of music nonstop, and he's just making choices back to back. And after he pushes the buttons and the device speaks for him, he then verbalizes it. So it's really promoting speech as well as giving him a voice if he doesn't want to speak that day. And it's just so neat. I love my job, if you can't tell.
Yeah. No, that's so great. I think it's so important. I mean, you really can almost immediately see the difference when somebody has a job that's just to get by, and when they're really passionate about what they do. And I'm always, it just makes me happy when I see people doing what they feel like they're supposed to do. So
Yes.
that's really great. And then I wanted to ask you, let's pretend there's not a worldwide pandemic happening. What has been your vision for your company moving forward at this point?
Well, we go out and serve home-based clients and facilities, communities. So we are not employed like at a hospital only or at a school district like a lot of other music therapists. So I would like for us to continue offering services to people in their homes and facilities throughout DFW. I've been approached over the last couple of years since we really like moved to employees about why don't we expand to other parts of the state. And I like my team being close by. So I don't want anybody to be so far away that I couldn't drive over there if they had something going on, or for me to pop into a session. I have personal relationships with a lot of our clients too. Whether it's just me meeting them at the initial consult, or me working with them and then needing to transition them off of my caseload, for instance, like when I've had my children. So there's something really neat about having it just in DFW. So I would like for us to continue to do the work that we're doing here. And, we have 9 therapists now. I think that for me to still be able to practice music therapy, we can't get too much bigger, because then the admin work would be too much. But
Right.
maybe a team of 15 or 20 at the most. But yeah, that's kind of what I want us to be a small team, but to do excellent work in DFW.
I think that's awesome. So really, it sounds like what you're saying is your goal is really to just continue what you've already been doing and maybe just
Yeah,
add a few more therapists. I think that's awesome
absolutely.
because when I read like business books and things about, it's always about growth, 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 bigger, 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 and I got just a little disillusioned with that, and I started thinking maybe it's not better to just always try to grow. Maybe it's
Yeah.
better to just find your groove and then just be as the best you can in that. And there was one book that what I don't even remember the name of it, but it was something like bigger isn't always better, and it was basically an argument for why it's good to just keep your business small.
Awesome.
So yeah,
I
that's
feel
great.
that.
That's reassuring to hear. Sometimes I'll like get in these like entrepreneur groups and stuff, and those people are a little. I love them, but sometimes they're crazy. They
It's
just
too
want to take.
ambitious for me.
Yeah, they want to conquer the world. You know what I mean. Um,
Yes, I don't want to take over the music therapy world. I don't want to have a monopoly of music therapists. And I want to be able to still be a mom.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Maintain some sanity. Okay, so
yeah.
now let's lastly let's talk about the pandemic, which has affected everybody on
Mhm.
some level, either whether that's having gotten sick or knowing someone who's gotten sick, or being affected financially or with your business or your work. So how has this affected your business?
Oh man, it has directly affected our ability to go into client homes, obviously. Um, we decided a little bit ahead of, whenever the governor and our Fort Worth mayor um, issued the stay home y'all order, which was real cute. When the schools shut down, that's when I personally made the call for our practice to not go into people's homes, because we work a lot of times with our clients that have intellectual and developmental disabilities. They also have medical fragility. Some of them are already on respirators or ventilators. Um,
These
a
are
lot
people
of
who
them have
already have breathing issues.
a lot, several of them, yeah. um, and sometimes people who have disabilities are more likely to also have dual diagnoses, other types of like autoimmune disorders. And I just felt ethically like we couldn't risk it, especially so early on when we didn't know if we could be carrying it asymptomatically. We have 9 therapists seeing 150 200 clients in their homes and facilities every week, plus all of those clients have their own therapists and schools and activities that they do, and I just didn't feel comfortable. So we stopped seeing clients on, I think, March 14th was our last day. um, and after that, we encouraged our private pay clients to try teletherapy. The issue is that most of our clients are through these Medicaid waivers, and the Medicaid waivers were specifically not covering teletherapy, and so we weren't going to get paid for those visits. So we had 3 or 4 weeks where we saw. I mean, I did the math, and we had like a 98% reduction in our revenue for that
Oh my
month.
goodness.
Yeah, it was the pits. My therapists were feeling real worried. I was super worried. Um, but we just couldn't go into people's homes. There was a lot of advocacy that was happening though. So we were advocating, contacting Texas Health and Human Services. A lot of our clients were. We have some great music therapists who are part of the Texas State Task Force, and they specifically advocate for legislative issues, and also for whenever it comes around, they try to, what am I trying to say? They are trying to get licensure recognition in the state of Texas. So we already have a very active task force. And so they were on it, and Health and Human Services finally came around a couple of weeks ago and they said, yes, we will cover teletherapy for these, couple of therapies, and music therapy was one of them, which was really shocking because so often music therapy is something that we really have to advocate for and explain over and over and over again. I think honestly, they might've just been tired of hearing from us, but we did get coverage through, they said they would cover it. I think it started on April 15th through April 30th. So not for very long. The approval will expire on April 30th, but we're obviously hoping that they extend that.
Right.
So,
right.
so we had about a month of hardly any services, and now we've kicked it big into teletherapy, which is not preferred for most of our clients, but it's better than nothing. And it has been really rewarding to see them, through Zoom and through Doxy is one that we're using that's HIPAA compliant, and seeing them
I was going to
light
say
up.
Zoom's HIPAA compliant version of the program is that's
a lot. Yeah. So Doxy.me, have you heard of that one?
I have not.
It just opens in a browser. So people don't even need to sign up. It's amazing. And they have like a virtual waiting room. So you can, kind of like Zoom, you can like click to let people in.
Yeah.
And I have upgraded to the what is it? The Doxy Pro version, I think, or the Doxy not the practice version, whatever the next one is, so that I can have 3 people on at a time, because we have an internship program and our interns have been with us since January. And when this hit, halfway through their internships, they started losing hours.
Right.
And they have that 1,200-hour internship to do. So it's been really great.
1,200 hours.
It's 6 months full time. It's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, our 2 interns, they're both from Texas Women's University this semester, Taylor and Allie, and they're wonderful. And just last week, they got to start joining us for teletherapy sessions.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's really great.
So yeah, all of that to say, it has affected us majorly.
Yeah. Do you think, because it looks like some restrictions are going to start lifting here in Texas pretty soon, because I know for me, and I think for a lot of business owners, we're all kind of thinking, well, even when they do lift the restrictions, should we open our doors again? Do you have any thoughts on that yet?
I do. I have so many thoughts. We will not be going back into client homes at least through the end of May. That's kind of what my gut is telling me as a mom and as somebody who's known a lot of these clients for so long. I just feel like it would be irresponsible to go out there too soon. So I kind of want to wait and see what happens with this reopening. And hopefully we can see them, maybe on a case by case basis later in the summer or into the fall. But I need more time to feel confident to allow my therapist to go back out. I mean, not only for liability issues, but for everyone's safety.
Yeah. And I think I'm kind of with you on that. Is like, even if they lifted everything tomorrow, I think I would need to see 3 or 4 weeks of everybody else kind of returning to normalcy first, and make sure that it's kind of okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Well, Nikki, this has been really great. Hopefully this was good for you, and I've really appreciated having you on today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
And for our listeners and viewers, where can people find you?
We are at Heart and Harmony, written out. So HEARTAND, Harmony, HARMONY.com.
All right. Perfect. Very good. Okay, you guys, Nikki Belshe of Heart and Harmony Music Therapy. Thanks again, Nikki.
Thank you.